Ever wish transferring money internationally was like, I don't know, sending a text, instant, no borders, no hassle.
Right.
That's kind of the future Layer Zero is aiming for. But, instead of revolutionizing banking, they're taking on the world of blockchains.
Yeah, it's really something how they're using blockchain's whole thing, decentralization, to tackle one of its biggest weaknesses.
Yeah.
How each blockchain's kind of isolated.
Right, like these awesome digital ecosystems totally cut off from each other.
Exactly. What's the point of building something amazing if it can't talk to the rest of the blockchain world?
Exactly.
And that's where this whole omnichain idea comes in. It's what Layer Zero is all about.
Okay.
They want to build this secure network where blockchains can just communicate, share data, the whole nine yards. Imagine the possibilities.
Okay, so less like walled gardens and more open borders for blockchains. I
Yeah,
like it.
exactly.
But before we get ahead of ourselves, let's break down what Layer Zero is. They call themselves an omnichain messaging protocol in their white paper.
And that messaging protocol bit is really key here because Layer Zero isn't about just moving like cryptocurrency between blockchains.
Right.
It's about enabling any kind of interaction, like any exchange of data
Yeah.
between these different systems. And that opens up so much.
Okay, yeah, I get that. That could be huge. But we're talking about tons of different blockchains, right? Each with their own way of, I don't know, talking, communicating.
Right.
So how can Layer Zero make sure that a message sent on one chain is actually received and understood on a completely different one? And on top of that, we're talking about potentially transferring a ton of value. How do they make sure it's secure?
You've hit the nail on the head. Security and what the Layer Zero team calls universal semantics. Those are the two things they absolutely have to get right.
Okay.
So let's start with security. Their white paper breaks it down into two categories: intrinsic and extrinsic security.
Okay, two flavors of security. I'm listening.
All right, so think of intrinsic security as like the bedrock.
The foundation.
Exactly. It's all about guaranteeing that messages are delivered reliably from one blockchain to another.
Okay.
No lost messages, no duplicates, and absolutely zero interference.
So if blockchains were countries, Layer Zero is making sure your letter gets delivered cross borders without being lost, intercepted, or copied.
Got it.
What about extrinsic security then?
Extrinsic security is all about protecting the message itself.
Okay.
For this, Layer Zero uses something called decentralized verifier networks, DVNs for short.
Okay.
Imagine a network of independent inspectors checking your letter to make absolutely sure that no one's messed with it.
Gotcha. So intrinsic security is the reliable postal service, and extrinsic security is the tamper-proof seal and independent verification. Clever. But what makes Layer Zero's approach to these fundamental challenges stand out? What's the secret sauce?
Layer Zero's real innovation is, I think, its flexibility.
Okay.
You see, a lot of other solutions, they use what they call a monolithic approach to security.
Monolithic.
Yeah, one size fits all.
Okay.
Which can be a problem because it assumes everyone's got the same security needs, which isn't really true.
Right.
Layer Zero changes that by giving developers the power to customize, kind of tailor their security setup,
Okay.
what they call their security stack.
So it's less about imposing one rigid framework
Right.
and more about giving developers the tools to build what they need.
Exactly. Need super tight security, no problem. Go for more DVNs, more layers of verification
Okay.
on a budget. Prioritizing speed. They can optimize for that too. And here's the best part. This adaptability, it's not just about, today's blockchains.
Right.
As new tech comes out, Layer Zero is made to evolve with it
Okay.
without breaking what's already there.
Wow.
They call this their append-only system, very forward-thinking.
Future-proofing. I like it.
Yeah.
But with all this going back and forth between chains, these independent checkers, doesn't get bogged down. I mean, speed is pretty important.
Of course, it's a good point.
Yeah.
And the Layer Zero team, they've definitely thought about it.
Okay.
Remember how we talked about flexibility?
Right.
Well, that goes for speed and cost as well.
Okay, so walk me through this. How do they make sure the whole thing doesn't slow to a crawl?
It all comes down to this thing called the message lib registry. Now, this isn't set in stone.
Okay.
Developers are always coming up with new message libs,
Yeah.
each with its own way of doing verification. Some might be all about super high security, while others are laser focused on lightning fast transactions.
So it's like choosing how you want your package shipped.
Exactly. And this is where it gets really cool. They have this feature called Ultra Light Node, or ULN. It's a special type of message lib that's the default, and it's incredibly versatile. Think of it this way. Ever ordered a bunch of stuff online,
Sure.
and they all arrive in separate packages, even though they're from the same place?
Oh, yeah, like they want to waste cardboard or something.
Right. But imagine if those could be combined
Right.
into one efficient delivery. That's what ULN does. It lets developers basically bundle those verification tasks from the DVNs.
Streamlining.
Exactly.
So instead of each inspector needing to give their individual okay,
Right.
it's like they all give a collective thumbs up.
Precisely. And it doesn't even stop there. LayerZero lets developers decide how many of these DVNs need to sign off before something goes through. This gives them really fine-grained control over, how much security versus speed they want. Need absolute certainty. Make sure all the DVNs verify. Okay, with a little bit of risk for a faster, cheaper transaction. Adjust accordingly.
This is a crazy amount of flexibility, but it sounds like LayerZero puts a lot of trust in the developers.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, they're deciding on security, speed, even specific features.
It's true.
That's a lot of power, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. But that's decentralization for you, right?
Yeah.
Giving developers the power to build the future.
Right.
But LayerZero knows that more power, well, it also means more chances to mess up.
Right, of course.
That's why they've built in ways to reduce those risks, even at the application level.
Okay, now you've got me interested. Tell me more about these safety measures.
They call it pre-crime.
Pre-crime.
Yeah.
Okay, does it live up to the name?
It's pretty amazing, actually. So picture this. Before a message is delivered and actually does something on the other blockchain.
Before our package is opened.
Exactly. Pre-crime can basically simulate what that message would do.
Right.
See if it would cause any problems.
So it's like a security checkpoint catching
Yeah.
issues before they happen.
Yes. Can you give me an example of how pre-crime would work, like in a real situation?
Okay, sure. Let's say there's a decentralized exchange, a DEX, running on 3 different blockchains.
Yeah.
Let's call them Chain A, Chain B, and Chain C.
Okay.
This DX uses LayerZero to move tokens between these chains. Now, let's say Chain A, I don't know, gets hacked somehow.
You ever get signed?
No, definitely not.
Yeah.
Now, the attacker, they try to use this to their advantage.
They send a malicious message through LayerZero to Chain B, hoping to drain the DEX's funds.
Classic blockchain heist.
Right. But here's where pre-crime comes in. It simulates what this message would do
Okay.
and immediately sees that the attacker's trying to take out more money than they have across all 3 chains.
Gotcha.
It's like catching the thief red-handed before they even grab the loot.
So it's like it can anticipate these attacks.
Yeah, kinda. Pre-crime lets developers set these rules, these invariants.
Okay.
That must be true for any transaction. If a message breaks those rules, pre-crime shuts the whole thing down.
Pretty cool. It sounds like LayerZero is more than just a messaging protocol.
Right.
It's like a fortress protecting these transactions.
And we're just scratching the surface here. What's really exciting is that LayerZero is built to be a foundation. Developers can build on top of it, add new features.
Okay, I'm really interested now. Besides this pre-crime thing, what else can they do with all this flexibility? What other doors does LayerZero open? So what other exciting developments can we expect? What else can developers build on top of LayerZero's foundation?
Well, one of the coolest things has got to be Ella's Compose.
L's Compose.
Yeah, imagine being able to combine a bunch of actions across different blockchains
Okay.
into one seamless transaction.
So I'm picturing like a blockchain version of one of those multi-step recipes,
Yeah.
that somehow turns out perfect in the end.
That's actually a great analogy. So traditionally, if you wanted to, let's say, move a token from one blockchain to another,
Right.
and then swap it for a different token on that second chain, you would have to do 2 separate transactions.
God.
Slow, expensive, and kind of risky.
Yeah, I could see how juggling all that could get messy, especially with fees and delays adding up with each step.
Exactly. But with Else Compose, you can bundle all of that into one atomic action. It's like this perfectly choreographed thing, the transfer and the swap all happening at the same time.
So Elsa Compose is like a multi-step move, but in the blockchain world.
Yeah, exactly. And what's even more impressive is that this isn't limited to just a few specific blockchains.
Right, because it's built to work with everything, even blockchains that haven't even been invented yet.
Exactly. That same idea applies to Else Compose. It's made to work across all blockchains.
Wow.
It opens up so many possibilities, it's hard to even imagine them all right now.
Okay, we've covered a lot. From like secure messaging to this pre-crime thing and now these, mind-bending transactions. I feel like the future is closer than we think. But let's bring it back down to earth for a sec.
Yeah.
How does this whole omnichain future that LayerZero is building, how does it actually affect the average person?
For the average person, this means a world that's way more connected and user-friendly.
Okay,
Imagine a future where you can move your stuff between different blockchain apps, games, financial platforms, whatever,
right.
without even thinking about it. That's what Layer Zero is working towards.
It's like tearing down the walls between all these different platforms and building one unified digital space.
Exactly. And because it's built on decentralization and security,
Right.
Layer Zero can help create a digital world that's more open and accessible for everyone.
It's been awesome to take a deep dive into LayerZero. As we wrap up, is there one big takeaway, one aha moment that you really want our listeners to walk away with?
I think the biggest takeaway is that Layer Zero isn't just about connecting blockchains, it's about completely changing how we as users interact with this technology.
Okay.
It's about moving past individual blockchains and towards a truly interconnected ecosystem.
It's a future I'm really excited to see unfold. For our listeners who want to learn more, we'll have links to the LayerZero white paper and some other resources in the show notes. Go check them out, and thanks for joining us for this deep dive into the future of blockchain.